the whole modality that we have from living in a patriarchal culture. This is part of the training of 2,000 years of patriarchy, is that the power is on the outside. Even when it's, a benevolent leader, it's still this paradigm that the power is on the outside. And that's why, even with this forum, there's a reason when we started it, thank God for Matt Klein, who really kind of came along 2 years ago and said, we've got to start this. People really need this. And then I was like, yeah, we'll call it, even though it's Living Outrageous Openness, we'll call it Think Like a Goddess. And we never really talk about that subtitle that much, but if you go to the page, it's Think Like a Goddess. And that's because when you begin to think like a goddess, no matter what gender you are, wham, the power goes on the inside. It's not coming from a lover or a husband or a girlfriend or anything that will save you. It's not coming from a leader that will save you. It's not coming from me saving anybody as a teacher, because I already know how corrupt that becomes. I was already in a group for 15 years where everybody gave their power to the teacher. So for me, I feel like every experience that this crazy life this crazy divine life has guided me to, including all those 30,000 readings, has taken me to a place where the inner divine is saying it is time to show people how to connect to their inner power spiritually. And Kali is really one of the keys, although to be honest, you don't have to, if you don't relate to that paradigm of, the Hindu goddess of death and rebirth, you can find any inner modality that will let you feel that. I mean, to be honest, you could do it through Jesus. You could really do it through whatever you relate to, but it's not just that energy of the sweet, loving God. This is the force. It's like an atom bomb on the inside that releases your power because you finally say yes to what seems even inconceivable. There's an inner yes. You're like, if this is what will cause the freedom and the awakening and the remembrance of who I actually am, that I'm not just a terrified little child who's looking for the next mommy or daddy to save me, but I want desperately, if you're saying this to yourself, I want desperately to align with that inner divine. It's everything we've been doing, but now it becomes 100% real, because it is what is the route that will carry you through this in your power. No matter what your political affiliation is. That's why I don't want to even dwell there that much, because it's not of the deepest interest to me. What this is really about is the reowning of the inner divine, without any projection on the outside of, really it's this or that or the other thing that saves me. It's like, no, you know this, whether you've been in the forum 2 weeks or you've been in the forum 2 years, and you know it from my books and you know it from everything, any recording. The meaning of divine source is that the inner divine is the source of all, including the craziest junk like what's happening right now is the inner divine. And that's how this is so different than manifesting anything. Because somebody would say, well, how, when you're calling in the highest good, how could something like this occur where quite likely many, many people around the world will suffer? Because if you're actually talking about calling in the highest, not calling in our representation of what we think the highest is. Sometimes there is a tremendous darkness that has to be embraced in order. I have nothing talking about embracing whatever. I'm talking about embracing it on the inside. It's the re-owning of the shadow. It's the re-owning of whatever on the inside keeps you from your power, whatever has taught any of us as women or as a certain race or as a certain nationality or as gay people or whatever anybody is or whatever you are. It doesn't matter. You could be anything. Everybody gets taught self-hatred. Everybody. And when you get suddenly a situation where the shadow is so prominent, if you don't waste your time hating the shadow and just keep going, I hate it, and I hate everybody who, is about the shadow. No, you go inside and you actually go, I want to face that shadow in myself. I want to heal whatever taught me to hate myself as a woman or as a whatever. When you start to do that, that's really what Kali is. She's the re-owning of all the projected material. And she's really where you awaken to remembering that your actual identity is divine. So some part of you has had a deep longing to reconnect to this courageous, radiant force of ferocious love that's on the inside that is this goddess. And it's very, very different than the way goddess energy is talked about sometimes. Like, some of you know, I wrote this poem about it once. Like, oh, we dance in a circle and we throw rose petals and we write a list of everything we want to manifest. And it's like, that's not Kali. Kali goes in and destroys your fears. She doesn't tell you shouldn't have them, but as you awaken to the fact that she's the one who's your true being, your true essence, then the fear's there, but you're like, oh, I'm actually something far, far greater. You're not, the identity isn't only the one who's afraid or angry or whatever. Your identity is this vast, expansive, radiant force of love that every single one of you are, which is why I'm very happy to run this forum, because I can't think of anything that would make me happier right now. But it's not because I'm some force of anything that you're not. I can just show you ways I know to invite this that work. But it's just as strong in you as you start to invite it, because it's the same goddess in everybody. It's the same radiant force of love.